tonight with words unspoken. You say that I'm the only one, but will my heart be broken when the night meets the
Well, greetings, and I want to welcome you to Zoom. And if you're not familiar with Zoom, something tells me you will get more and more familiar with it in the weeks to come, because it seems to be a place where everybody is starting to communicate, good or bad, right or wrong. Let me, first of all, cordially welcome you. I do hope you find our next hour together of value to you and your business. Just quick housekeeping, you may have seen it when you were logging in, and we still have lots of people logging in as we speak. In the last minute, we added another 20 attendees. But those of you in the Zoom environment are not in Zoom meeting. That may be an environment you're familiar with. You're now in what's called Zoom webinar. And since there's so many of you, right now we're clocking at 93, more to come, 94, there we go, I'm watching the number. We have muted you, and I'd love to be able to have a dialogue with you. Maybe down the road we could, you can email me, we could set up a call, but that would be very difficult with so many people attending. We're about to cross the 100 mark. So I'd like to introduce, if I may, my co-host right now, actually my sponsor. Mr. Michael Shapiro, are you with me today?
Good morning, everybody. I just wanted to welcome everybody. I hope everyone is doing well and staying well, and we hope you find this really worthwhile.
Michael Shapiro is the publisher and CEO of a company called TAPinto. If you're not familiar with them, later on down the road, we'll spend a couple of minutes giving them a quick, brief description. But Mike will also be doing something very important, which is monitoring your chat. At the bottom of the room, you can click on that chat button and make a comment, whether it's to the entire group or privately to Mike or me. You can also do Q&A, and he'll kind of be my cohort in crime here. That way, if something's important, he may interrupt me and say, Mike, we have an important question, or he may save it till the end. And Mike, since he understands this content very, very well, because we worked tandem for a long time in partnership, Mike may be able to answer your question. So now let's move on. Who am I? Briefly, you may have read about me or Googled me. I publish a 140-year-old magazine, which is, I just picked it up in September, and it's considered the Bible of the news publishing industry. It is editor and publisher magazine. And the only reason I bring that up, it's not for you or most of you, because it's a B2B. There's our first of many acronyms today. It is a B2B, business to business publication, and has a very narrow, here's another word you're going to hear in a minute, reach. It's designed for news publishing executives. It's designed for Mike Shapiro. It's an informative B2B, and it's more than a magazine. It's also a website, an email database, and a lot of other products. But also for 22 years, I was a consultant to the media industry through the years of digital change. I've actually been a consultant since 1999, when no one knew what the internet was. And most of the content of today, or a lot of it, is being gleaned from a book I wrote in 2009, of all years, called Survival Selling. By the way, there's a free copy available to you if after we're done with our 1 hour journey, actually 56 minutes now. If you decide that possibly you're interested in learning a little bit more about my writing, I will send you a free e-copy of the book, one that supposedly works in all those e-readers you use. And it is a B2B primer. Now, another thing, now we'll get into the meat of our topic, is I'm an old guy. I will be turning 63 next week, and I don't wish any happy birthdays from you. Thank you. But the reason I bring that up, this is not my first down economy. It's my fourth that I lived through. I mean, we're talking massive downturn in economy. It's my third professionally. Down economies come and go. This is an awful situation we're in right now. And we're not going to get into the background today or the challenges of COVID-19. We're all experiencing that. We have loved ones we're concerned about, or God forbid we've lost, and we're out all trying to help each other through this crisis. But it does affect our economy, just like other things have impacted our economy throughout the years. And there's one person that I considered a mentor. I never got to meet him because he died before I was born. Actually, he died, excuse me, when I was 10 years old, but I've studied him since then because I study media and marketing and history of it. But this was a gentleman who was considered one of the top advertising gurus of his era, which was really the 20s and 30s and 40s. He was actually elected to Congress, but he had an expression, because remember, this is a gentleman who lived through the Great Depression, that massive depression in last century, where he made a statement during it: in good times, people want to advertise, and bad times, they have to. And that's going to be how I tee up our dialogue for today. Good or bad, right or wrong, we are in a massively disrupted economy right now. Should you consider advertising a necessity or a luxury? Well, my mission when we end our journey is to have you think of the latter. Can it be considered a luxury? Now, what have some businesses done during tough economies? Back in that great depression, I mean, of 1929, car sales went up. I mean, because cars were considered a luxury. Then Chrysler had this interesting out-of-the-box idea. Let's rebuild our factory, rebuild our product, and make it much more cost-effective. Chrysler took market share. Yes, it did. It won the car battle over Ford during the Depression because it shifted, it adapted. If I may use the famous quote from the hockey player Wayne Gretzky, you may not know the sport or know him, but he was asked many years ago why he was so good in his craft. And he said, I skate to where the puck is going. And that's what Chrysler did. Now we'd like it to the 70s. This is an economic downturn I remember in my young youth because I was a teenager back then. And I remember having to take dad's car and wait in gas lines for hours just to fill the tank for him. But one grocery store in Chicago had this miraculous idea. It was crazy, unheard of. What if we allow people who are now starting to carry lots of credit cards? Remember, this is when MasterCard and Bank of America, remember that Bank of America, which changed to Visa. Why don't we let people charge their groceries? And immediately they grew. Now, the recession that I spent a lot of my I should say, professional time involved in was the one that occurred 12 years ago, because my business was extremely booming at this time in 2008. I was a pioneer in the media industry, and I was working with over 350 media companies worldwide. I had the Hindustan Times in India used to fly me out there. And I was working with all of them. And during this economic crisis, I reinvented many of their business models. And actually, in 2009, we helped over 25,000 businesses market better and kept track of them and learned, well, we learned what is obvious. McGraw-Hill did a study similar, where they monitored hundreds and hundreds of businesses, big and small, those that marketed and those that didn't. And their findings at the end of that recession was those that marketed did much better than their competitors. And good or bad, right or wrong, we're in a very tough economy right now, but it will end. Economic downturns are cyclical. I think we all know that. It's hard to think of the future right now, but there will be an end to this. And when that end happens, where will you be positioned? Coopers and Lybrand makes it a much more aggressive approach. And I hope you're not upset that we get a little aggressive, because they discuss the fact that you end up taking business from another business in your space. Remember, I sell B2B exclusively, whether it's my consulting services or my magazine, we sell business to business services. Some of you, similar to me, sell B2B service. Some of you sell B2C, business to consumer service or product. Regardless of that, you all have to start looking at a very important point, which is your market share. Basically, there's only a finite number of human beings that are going to buy your product or service. It's just a fact. And there gets to a point where you have to start thinking about what share of that market I have. And even Harvard University, this is a study that we participated in. They actually had us fill out some stuff and put in some of our data. But what they came out with was those that marketed improved market share. Now, I don't want to get too aggressive here, but I don't want to say you're at war, but in a way you are, because in a free market society, well, in a free market society, if you do make money, people try to take it away from you. It's just normal way of doing business. And I'm not saying you should not love your neighbor. This is not a battle with your neighbor today, okay? Your brethren business that you may be going to the chamber with. And I'm all about because you know who your competitor may be today, and you're gonna have to embrace it. It's the internet. It's the internet. I mean, let's put this in perspective right now. Let's really, really, we all know retail is shifting. And here's something else you have to assume from tough economic times. Take that, through crisis comes change. I'm kind of a closet historian. And I read so much history, and I live sometimes in the past because I love studying wars. But one thing I'll tell you is that crisis creates change. The downturn of 2008 changed our society. We're going to come out of this a different society. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. You and your customer will change. Now, in the retail world, we're changing. People who would never have thought of going online to buy packages delivered to their home are always comfortable with just the tactile experience of shopping, of seeing the label on the shelf to influence buying patterns, are shifting. We are retraining a society. So if you're in retail and you're not screaming right now at the top of your lungs why you should still be a choice from your customer base, you may be watching your market share dwindle and not come back at the end. But it goes beyond that. We have many financial people on this call. I looked at the list before coming on board of who registered. You're under siege because there are actually robots right now. I mean, people go online thinking that they're getting financial advice from a website. They're talking to what's called a bot. How about Geico and Progressive? We love their wacky commercials, don't we? And now Liberty Mutual's throwing in these stupid, I mean, they're all out there trying to scream, go online to get your insurance. It'll obviously be cheaper. Your local down-home insurance agent can write that same policy, trust me. And my insurance agent, when I had a fender bender a few months back, and I called him and said, what do you want me to do, Bill? He said, I'll come to your driveway and take the picture. Don't worry about the app. I'll take care of it. But if Bill's not shouting at the top of his lungs right now, I may be influenced and change. Banks. By the way, guys, and we've got a lot of realtors on this, and I'm honored to have you here. Very excellent profession. We also have people in the financial industry. You all know that there's no such thing as a cheaper mortgage. Am I correct? There is no such thing. A mortgage is a mortgage. It is. It's just how you do the deal. Cars, you're going to buy them on the internet. And my word, we're actually training a society that it's okay not to go to your doctor, but do everything virtually. And those insurance agents are under siege. And that's one of the most critical people in our society, because one of the number one stressors in your world, short of losing your job or losing a spouse or a family member, is moving. It's right up there in the top 5 or 6. And you need that person to hold your hand through the process. But no, I'll list my home online. It's just going on. So let's talk about this shifting in society. The Great Recession of 2008 changed us. We came out of that recession different. I don't know. See, I have no crystal ball. I can't prognosticate. Even in the markets today, I buy high and sell low. So I don't know if I can tell you what our society will be in months to come, but I'll tell you this. I've studied the 2008 recession, and you already know this, because before it, it was okay to buy things you couldn't afford, right? Let's max out our credit cards. Sure, I'll take on a mortgage. Yeah, I wink, wink. I know I really can't. I'll be flipping this home. Bull. We came out of that retraining our society that it was hip to be cheap. It's okay to save money. You don't have to overspend. Driving huge expensive cars isn't cool anymore. By the way, used cars are in vogue right now. It's amazing how used inventory is craved more than new. And talk to your real estate community. People don't want the high-end homes. They want that middle-level home. Down here, we call them millennial villages in Florida, where I live. I'm here in Tampa Bay. And millennials are the cheapest people on the planet. They don't want college debt. They don't want homes they can't afford. We are in a society where it's hip to save money. And the other thing that happened after 2008, which was fascinating, was we killed brand loyalty. We did. Before it, you had a favorite restaurant. You had a favorite brand. Now you're influenced more by the end caps, if you know what I'm talking about. Rather than get your favorite brand, what's on sale. And fast food restaurants never advertise which food tastes better. It's dollar menus and value meals. Ernst & Young says 1 out of 3 people are loyal to a product or service now. So you got cheap people with no brand loyalty. Then we get into this recession. No one saw this one coming, right? And now we got to get on the backside of that one. And we know our society is shifting. Now, this is not a commercial for TAPinto. I love Mike's product. I have been consulting him. We've worked together over the years, and he's paying my freight today to chat with you. This is not a commercial for Mike. Mike, at the end, we'll talk a little bit about what TAPinto is, so Mike can have a just quick moment for us just to explain his product. That's not what this is. A commercial for advertising. Period. End of story. It's not a luxury. It's a necessity. It's got to be right there in your bottom line expenses. I don't care if you do it with TAPinto. I don't care if you do it with one of his competitors. I don't care if you buy. I don't care if you hire a skywriter, beat a drum, or dress someone up like the Statue of Liberty and put a darn arrow in their hands. You want to advertise. And you have to. And we'll get later on, near the end, I'll give you an idea. I'm not saying you blow your whole expenses on it. You do it logically. But first, let's just discuss how you get a return on your investment from advertising. Now, this is not new. This is old. And some people think some of the newer marketing gurus will watch me speak at these conventions. By the way, all my speeches were canceled. I was supposed to be in 8 cities over the last 2 months because I keynote a lot of media conferences, which is weird because my family's got me at home, similar to, I'm sure, what you're doing. And I scream this and people think, well, that's not new. But I believe things are basic. This is your secret to success in any form of advertising, any form of marketing. It's reach and frequency. I usually equate it this way. In 1600, if you had a cow for sale and you needed to market that cow for sale, advanced marketing in 1603 was nailing a note to a tree. Am I right? Okay. And then, well, paper's expensive. You don't want to waste that. So you will do market research on which path the people who want to buy cows are walking. That's where you nail your note, not the other paths, the one where the cow buyers are. Guess what? That's target marketing. That's niche marketing. Some call it particle marketing, demographic. Look, you are a small business owner. Just about everybody on this call is an SMB. There's another acronym, small, medium-sized business. You're either the decision maker or the marketer. Either way, you've got to make a very crucial decision in what media you're going to purchase. And by the way, when you're purchasing media, you're renting eyeballs. I know that sounds basic. That's all you're doing. Maybe in radio, you're renting ears. They rent them to you, and you use them effectively. So, which ones do you rent? Well, another acronym now. You have a tendency, these are SMBs, to do SOS. I call that shiny object syndrome. You do the new thing quick to test it. And we see that all over in all forms of this new digital sphere we're in, with sometimes the legacy, the established media is just as good. I call this spaghetti marketing. I hope you don't mind the reference, but you throw things against the wall to see what sticks. Don't do that anymore. Stop that. Don't spend one more dollar. Don't spend one more dollar unless you're targeting. And that's it. So that's reach. Reach is defined as target marketing. Target marketing means know your customer cold. Who is that customer or potential customer? Here are the 4 dimensions of your customer: young, old, rich, poor, near, far, man, woman. I know it seems simple, but it is. Understand that. Now, sometimes we've got to urge you in media to think out of the box. You would be surprised how far people will travel now for a good deal. They will burn gas for that choice piece of used inventory, for that discount, for that special. So you may want to broaden your geographic region. Sometimes you've actually maximized your exposure in a certain, what we call demography or demographic. You may have to move up or down a little from the young, old, rich. So you get aggressive and you move into different places and you pull from them. But what you want to do is stay in the niche world. See, what changed over time in media is not digital. Digital is just absurd. Digital is just another form of media, another tree we nailed a note to. Ladies and gentlemen, what changed is mass media. It died. It's over. It went away. Let me discuss mass media. And most of my customers that work with me and who reads my publications are newspapers. I bought the Bible of the newspaper industry, started in 1884, Editor and Publisher magazine. It's an amazingly successful product, but it represents an industry that's gone through disruption. No, we're not 80% anymore of 18 plus reach. In the old days, You used to get this thick paper, remember, this big, and they drop it on your front porch. And here's the section for grandma. Here's the section for the kids. Here's the section for mom. Here's the section for... This is an amazingly interesting world. The newspaper is still vibrant. It's still, the printed product still read, but it's lower. It's about 40 to 45% of 18 plus adults now. That's the print product. But I'll let you in for another mass media that died. And those of you under 40 don't even know what I'm talking about. When I was a kid, the Ed Sullivan Show was on Sunday nights, 8 o'clock. 80% of humanity, or North Americans, watch this show. My father used to turn the lights down and make us shut up for this thing. How did Ed Sullivan, on a variety show, garner 80% of an audience? Answer, well, in the same show, you would watch an opera singer, followed by a puppet, followed by a rock and roll band. See, niche is in. If you enjoy a newspaper, odds are, because you're targeting the affluent, educated baby boomer homeowner. Now, when you watch a newspaper website or a news website, then you're different. You're younger. You may not be that same person who wants the printed product. And most newspapers are now decreasing their print publication dates. Not all. There are weeklies that'll still be with you every week, but the big dailies are changing. Now, what is TAPinto? And this is just a quick commercial for my customer, TAPinto. They are a myriad, a large group now of hyper-local websites. There is no newspaper. They're mostly in New Jersey. There are some right now that are on this website in New York State. I've actually visited those TAPinto newspapers and websites. But in New Jersey, where they're all websites right now, you're seeing hyper-local content just like a newspaper, right? So let's circle back for a second. Let's circle back to the reach of legacy media now. How's legacy media doing? We discussed print. I mean, it's evolved and changed and moved digital. Like, for example, what do you think of billboards? I mean, they're amazing. A lot of realtors use billboards because they're trying to get that coveted listing from a local homeowner. So they put their face on the billboard in the neighborhood. That can make sense, you know, and they say, trust the name you know, or here's my phone number, whatever. The problem is everybody driving by that billboard may not be the homeowner. Am I right? So you're wasting reach. Yeah, some of those people own homes. Some of them don't. Some are just delivering groceries. Some are coming in to do the lawn. You don't know what you're getting. You're just getting someone in a car. Same thing with any form of outdoor advertising. Am I right? This is one of my favorite forms of advertising now that's growing here in Florida. I'm assuming it's in your neighborhood. People are actually buying ads on the shopping cart because it's local. People tend to go to the local grocery store in order to refill their, you know, their pantries or what have you, and their freezers and refrigerators. Problem is, who's pushing that cart? Young, old, rich, poor, near, far, man, woman. Maybe the homeowner, may not. Maybe the baby's sitting on it. I have no idea. Now, a good media that's hyper targeted is direct mail. I have trouble saying it's not targeted because in the old days, it was just by zip code. Now you actually can purchase direct mail lists that actually can be subdivided, but that's great. But remember I said there's two secrets to success. There's reach and frequency. You see, you need frequency in today's world. I got to tell you, frequency is massively important because you as a consumer of media don't like commercials. You don't. You keep trying to avoid them. On radio, you started with little tapes in your car, then you went satellite, now you just sync. Most people are listening to their podcasts and listening to their music in their cars on their phones. Isn't that an amazing thing that we're just avoiding media because of the commercials? Television, the same thing. We used to use these tapes. You younger people have no idea what we're talking about. We had these things called VCRs. Now you have boxes in your home, right? Which help you miss commercials. But if you're under 30 or now even under 40 because it's growing, you're binging now. You're actually avoiding the commercial television and you're grabbing the content in different directions. So if you hate commercials, now this is what's so funny. We in media don't like that, so we put more in front of you. Watch us. We clutter up the world with commercials. We stick them on your cars. We stick them on your shirts. We stick them on your hats. We stick them on receipts. Am I right? Go to Walgreens, try to check out. They just keep handing you stuff. Actually, the average human being in North America is now influenced by 5,000 advertising messages a day. That's right. And you know what's really hitting you everywhere is flat screen TVs. They're sticking them on seats and airplanes. You pump gas. I know you're watching a TV commercial, right? Go to McDonald's. You're watching McTV. There are ads there. You'll be seeing them on your shopping carts. You may already have them because those of you closer to New York, this is where they're test marketing these now. And you see them outside. You even see them in the bathroom. They're everywhere. So I like targeted media, but let me just caution you about certain forms of media. If you can't do frequency with it cost effectively, then the media doesn't work as well because one-hit wonders don't work in media. You can't just do one ad and hope. The Super Bowl really doesn't work. The advertising there has great reach with one hit, but no one remembers the product. I could go on, I could show you the research. You remember the dog that made you laugh, or the clown or the comedian, but you don't remember who the sponsor is. It's crazy. So anyway, reach and frequency. That's the first goal in any media expenditure. Target and do it often. Now, what is your goal from that reach and frequency? Well, in today's world, and I've been trying to keep my eyes both on the chat, but yeah, there's a world now where people think you're closed and you ain't. Am I right? People don't know your service is still available. You're doing a different way of distributing your product or service. So you use reach and frequency with a message. This should be no brainer. What's your message? We're open. So now I'm going to take this message to my family because I have a family member who's hurting massively right now, emotionally and financially through this crisis. Not here locally. It's my brother-in-law in Nashville. He has been the manager for 30 years of a restaurant called Rafferty's. We don't have those here in Florida. It's a chain. It's actually a private chain. It's not even on the stock exchange. And he loves his job and he loves his employees. Here he is hugging on his Facebook page one of his employees. I looked at this picture from 4 months ago because she was having a birthday. They love him. People love him. His lunches were mobbed because he's right in this big medical area. And now he can't take customers. So he's trying to survive and market desperately after he laid off a lot of people by doing takeaway, right? And pickup. He even says, if you pull up, we'll bring it out to you and we'll have masks on and all that, like many restaurants are trying to market. So he said, I'll do it on my Facebook page. And I said, Mike, is that enough? He said, sure, I've got a Facebook page and I've got 600 people on my Facebook page. So I'm going to tell them that we're doing takeaway. And I first explained to him how low, you may not know this, but Facebook's reach has dropped drastically because half of the business people who use Facebook don't do the actual updating. They have someone else do it for them. You SMBs may have your receptionist or kid pay someone else to do it. So you don't look at the physical reach number. Some of you know where I'm going with this because here's E&P's Facebook page. We have 4,000 likes. That means 4,000 people have clicked our like button in order to get our content in their news feed. That's when Mike Shapiro, who I would like to look at E&P because he's my customer for our content. He's a news publisher. So are his other publishers of his TAPinto websites in New Jersey, New York, Florida. They need our content, our up-to-date information on news publishing. So my hope is they'll click that like button and our content will flow into their news feed with their friends and family and coworkers and church family and what have you. Problem is when you post on Facebook, you'll notice they show you a reach number. And that reach number is never really, it's less than 6% now of my total likes because Facebook wants you to click that boost button. Am I right? So the first thing that I do is you got to pay just to talk to people you already know. I call that preaching to the choir, marketing. So I believe that in marketing, you just can't preach to the choir anymore. I made up a word, don't play it in Scrabble, please. I call it externalizing. You go beyond that base. You got to externalize. I could go into a political discussion with you, and you're never going to know where I lean politically. By the way, on social media, I do not alienate half my customers. But I'll tell you one thing, we're so tribal now because no one's externalizing. I think people from the right should be on the shows with the people on the left. People on the left should be on the shows from the people on the right. So we hear both sides of the deal. But no, we're all getting into our trenches. I externalized this message to my database. I have 51,000 database media executives, out of which I think 285 were in the Nashville city. I should, if I had time, I'd have looked at all the suburbs and I could have maybe doubled that. And I sent him a personal message and he got business from it. I moved beyond his social media audience. So don't always think that Facebook is your number one way of marketing. We hear that all the time from small business owners. I'm okay on the internet. We've got that Facebook page. Getting liked is hard enough, but then even if you get those likes, getting seen is even harder. So what's your goal from these expenditures? What is it? Well, a recent study from a company called Burrell Associates put it out there. They asked 3,500 of you, small business owners all over North America, what do you want from marketing? Answer should be a no-brainer. You wanted to grow. You wanted a new customer. Number one goal, no ifs, ands, or buts, was the 3 C's, a call, click, or customer. Am I right? Customer. So what does it take for them? See this, I'm leading into it now. We're getting into messaging, which is very important. What does it take for them to change their buying habits? What's it take for you to try something new in today's world when you're so busy? Well, that should be a no-brainer. I already told you how frugal we are with our lack of brand loyalty. It's simple. They want a deal. They want a bribe. Remember, great recession of 2008. Everybody's looking for the deal. This is why Groupon grew through this entire problem. I mean, it's just a world of fickle people wanting deals. Now, how strong can your deal, what does your deal have to do? What are you driving 5 blocks out of your way for 10% off dry cleaning? I don't think so. By the way, percent off doesn't work. It just doesn't translate in a lot of the studies we see. Millennials don't connect the dots with percent off. They think you raised your prices. Car dealers never say percent off, do they? They always give you a price point. Think in terms first of a real price point. $199 a month, no money down. That is the way you should try to do a deal. Was this, now this. That couch regularly is $349. I got it at $175 just for you. But then you don't say, we got tons of them, right? Car dealers don't say $199 a month, no money down, relax, the lot is full, we're open 24 hours, we'll be here in 6 months. No, they say hurry, hurry, quick, sale ends in 2 hours. Am I right? Even Groupon's got a clock ticking away. When you bribe someone, you've got to make it time sensitive. Many people forget this. They throw the coupon out there and forgot to date stamp it. You need immediacy with your offer. See, it circles back to a concept called supply and demand. Scarcity creates a need for a product. It does. People want inherently what they can't have. Do you remember Cabbage Patch Kids? Nah, you're too young, maybe some of you. But remember this? Kids that were so scarce, and they weren't even that great. My kid had to have one. I remember this. How about Apple? They have more money than most countries in our globe. And you know they could put 1 million iPhones in the market on day one. It's true, they don't. Scarcity increases desire. How about today's fabricated scarcity? You know, they're still cutting trees down and making toilet paper. There is no scarcity of paper products. It's just you, the consumer, created this massive demand to make you comfortable. So the demand increases, they're just trying to keep the supply up, but it's fabricated. I promise you, those trees aren't getting cut down. They're available. We have no scarcity. So if you buy into that, let's take a look at who's doing proper messaging during the coronavirus. Well, I'll make you a deal. If you are selling a retail product that's high-end or a service, like, okay, we're going to come in and redo your entire air conditioning system for the summer, or we're going to redo your lawn, or we're going to redo your deck. By the way, home improvement now is on fire. People are staying home more, and they're just trying. You can fix up my home without it getting within 6 feet of me. You can wear a mask and social distance. I just had my sprinkler system redone because a truck went over one of my heads, because we're getting all these deliveries now. And he just did the whole thing for me. I didn't have to shake hands with him. We just waved away. So what about extending payments? If you can. You see, the trick to getting through tough economies, it's 2 words, and I hope I'm not upsetting you, because if you're hanging on by your fingernails, it's a tough time right now. It's time and money. If you got the ability to just hang in there on your collections, you can really pick up your market share. I'm doing that at ENP. Thank God I can. But I'm basically telling my advertisers who are buying into certain programs, you can relax and wait 4 or 5 months to pay the bill. That way we can help you with your top line revenue before you have to deal with the expense. Now, there's something wrong with this ad I'm showing you. Where's the immediacy? Yeah, we're open. We'll defer your payments. You'll think, okay, I'll stop by eventually. No, make it this. Make a time-sensitive offer, please. Hurry. Act now. That's the kind of messaging you want to have. Now, does everybody have to do a deal on this webinar? No, I don't do deals. I never will do a deal. I mean, seriously, Jaguar ruined their brand, destroyed it when they started marketing. Remember these really cheap Jags for $349? Who wants to own a Jaguar while they're running commercials? I mean, I'm assuming you're one of those people that are driving the Jag. Maybe I'm wrong, because it makes you feel good to drive a Jag. And then you're watching a commercial when you get home that they're talking about how cheap it is. How about this? Joseph A. Bank has a sincere problem because no one believes there's a regular price for anything, because they blew their wad for years on deals. Am I right? Buy one jacket, get 15 free. So no one goes into the store looking for retail anymore. I mean, there's studies on this, but there's other sectors on this webinar that can't do deals. Realtors don't say, okay, having a sale right now. I'll list your home for half off. Don't exist. Lawyers don't put billboards up and say, quick, have an accident right now. Am I right? And even a lot of you home improvement people can't do deals. It's not your style. Hey, if you have a flood today, no, it's not. You see, offer and immediacy is one way that some of you can instantly get the 3 C's, the call, click, or the customer. But don't do all of your marketing that way, and you don't have to. In this society, if you're looking for some good messaging, you want to have a giving message, right? One of the things we're suggesting to many small businesses is the buy one, give one mentality. People know you're in business. Just assume that. They don't think you're trying to make a profit through bad times, but if you say in some form of marketing, we're giving a piece of all of our sales to the hospital or to the first responders, or if you buy a pizza, we'll donate one or send one to the hospital. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with saying we're in business, we love our customers, but we also love helping. And this may be a time to extend that branding message right now. One of the things E&P, my magazine, is doing is providing these webinars at an extremely cost-effective rate for media companies all over the world to help them connect to their advertisers when their salespeople can't leave their houses. And the industry is watching this. Many people in this webinar right now, maybe other media companies, watching how we're doing this to help our customers. Ladies and gentlemen, do some giving. Now, why does branding matter? Now, we're going to get into more acronyms. I warned you at the beginning, if that's A-okay. By the way, I had a professor on this very webinar a week or so ago correct me. This is an acronym because you can say it as a word or an expression, TOMA. Because it pronounces a word, but it stands for something, which is top of mind awareness. Now, that's what you want through your branding. And I'm going to tell you why. I don't have time today to discuss Google at length. I do entire workshops just on something we call search. But Google is an active environment where people go to find stuff. You don't relax on Google. Google's Yellow Pages of yesteryear. Am I right? I mean, you didn't go home to relax with Yellow Pages. Let me pour myself a glass of iced tea, sit back and leaf through Yellow Pages. You went there to find something. Google's where you go for information or to find a product or service, B2B or B2C. You don't want people going to Google to find you. Trust me. No matter how hard you try to win on Google, someone else can beat you on it or buy themselves around you. And then you've lost the customer to the internet. See, this is why you want top of mind awareness. You want to plant the seed about yourself to all your current customers ongoing and all your potential customers ongoing. So if and when they need your product or service, you rise top of mind. It's that simple. Then they think of you first. That's what TOMA is all about. Now, that's an acronym. This is what they call an initialism. This is when I got corrected because I said I have an initialism means you can't say USP. Never mind. Ask a college professor. That's it. But he was kind about it. While you're doing TOMA, I want you to start being aggressive in your tactics. This is a very good tip. You have to constantly exploit your unique selling proposition. And some of you who have taken a marketing class over the years have heard this. Unique selling propositions are critical in detracting economies. When economies are expanding and people are just desperate for products and services, and you've got the right stuff at the right time, they may just find you out of necessity. Today, with the economy shrinking, you've got to tell people constantly why you're faster, cheaper, or better than that competitor. Remind me why I don't want to go on the internet. Remind me why I should do business with you. And remind me why. See, in unique selling propositions, it's very important that you connect the dots. And what I mean by connecting the dots is you desperately want to go into a place what I call benefit selling. And what benefit selling means is all right, and this is an initialism. What's the number one radio station in your town? It's the number one radio station in the entire world. And some of you know where I'm going with this. You see WIIFM up there, and you're already screaming at your screen, I know this one because it's an oldie but goodies. What's in it for me, right? That's what everybody's thinking about. You got to connect the dots and drill down to the final benefit of your product or service to the potential customer. Don't live up in features. Whenever we're training a sales team and you're training any human being that has to present a product or service to a customer of any kind, you have to train them to not talk feature, but talk benefit. It's just a classic sales 101. Because when you talk benefit, people connect the dots in their brain. Oh, I mean, IBM, when they first started selling computers the size of your house, right, in the 50s, were having nerdy people try to sell them, and they realized they had to send people with suits and ties to CEOs of large companies. This is true, because you don't sell the computer to the CEO. Don't even know what Mr. CEO, if I showed you a way to fire those 5,000 people in accounting, would you like to hear about it? What? That's the computer. You see, that was the benefit. So let's do some ad building. Let's assume this is your ad for your business, because it is a physical ad we corrected a few years ago for a customer of one of our customers. Let's assume this is on the internet right now. It's about the size of what we call a half rack. It's what, a 300 by 125, could be in a newspaper, could be on a billboard, could be anywhere, right? There's your message. All right, does this show a unique selling proposition? Yeah, but no. This is a local flooring store that was losing market share to the internet and to what we call per inquiry ads. I'm just giving you some of the background. Unfortunately, in today's world, if you're in the service-related industry, you're getting dinged by what we call per inquiry. There are people who are not in your industry. They just steal your leads and sell them to your competitor. You realtors know where I'm going with this, right? With companies like HomeLight, right? Screaming on television, it's per inquiry based and all that kind of stuff, trying to steal the lead and sell it to someone. Well, we got that same problem here. This guy, you know, those 800 numbers you see for flooring, that's not a real company. That's a lead generation product that sells this. So he's trying to say, I'll be around to service you, and the other guy won't. Well, then say it, darn it. Don't say trust the name you know. Define, put the word service in there. So that's the first thing I would do. Now I'm going to give you some real advice on branding, which circles back to shifts in our society. All right, go back to 2008. When our society shifted, we didn't just become cheap, we became wary. We were so concerned about our money that we as a society decided that we didn't want to spend any money until we learned what someone else says about the business first. Am I right? That's why Angie's List grew, and suddenly all of those testimonials started appearing on first certain directories online, and then they started appearing on your social media where people could write good and bad stuff about your business. Then Google allowed it on their maps, and all heck broke loose. Am I right? People are dissing and endorsing all over the place. Why? Because you as a consumer crave it. Number one thing you want before you go to a restaurant is see the reviews. I can show you the data. Number one thing you want to see before you hire a contractor is the reviews. It's just out there. I call it, this frugal society that created this, I call it the borrowed trust syndrome. You want to see what someone else says before you buy something. Now, the problem with those reviews is they're buried. They're not externalized. They're in a place where people have to search for them, your social media, maybe your Google Maps, maybe on a directory somewhere. And odds are you've got good reviews. You should. I bet you do. You may have some bad ones, and you have to deal with those. That's a whole other workshop we can do on reputation management. But for now, let's stay in that review world if you don't mind. So what do? You take them out. You bring them out. This business committed this egregious error, which I hated. Here's the error. And don't do this ever. Don't waste advertising to bolster your entire industry. Don't be the realtor that runs a big ad saying, now's a good time to sell your home. Because I'll say, thanks, you're right. This is a great time to sell my home. Let me go find a realtor. I appreciate your advice. Or the florist that says, don't forget grandma, this Mother's Day, send flowers. Okay, I'll go online and find them. Thanks for that. This is a guy writing an enhance your home with wood. Thank you. That's great advice. Every flooring guy in the whole town should have paid for this ad. Am I right? This is not exploiting your unique selling proposition. This is it's just enhancing the industry. Dig up one of your reviews and externalize it. You legally can use anything on the internet. I would humbly submit that you don't put the last name there as a courtesy to that customer. Bill J of such and such. And then try to find the right review with the right hot points, I call them. Some call them bullets that truly help personify the benefit of doing business with you. In the case of a contractor, he finished on time and or ahead of schedule, God forbid, and the quote was very, very competitive. Realtors, I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but most of you want those coveted listings. Am I right? A listing is so amazingly important to realtors. Not only is it one of their chief forms of making sure the neighborhood knows they're active, from the signs and the open houses and what have you, it's just great content, and it's also good revenue for you. So how do you get a homeowner to want to list with you? It should be a no-brainer. You did it, you sold the home on time and above ask, or you got me the price I wanted. You held my hand through the process. So one of the number one ways to brand yourself, I said, is a testimonial, but I want you to start externalizing them. Bring them out. Send them to people to reassure them on why you're faster, cheaper, or better. Make me love you more through that testimonial. Now, the second thing you may want to do in your branding, which a lot of people are starting to figure out, is be smarter than the other guy. I want you to start thinking of exploiting your expertise. Now, this is critical in tough economic times because you got to remind me why I love you before I give you up because I forget about you. See, that's why you must market. Right now, I got a million things on my mind. I'm trying to keep two businesses and keep people employed. I haven't fired anyone, and I don't want to. And I'm not making as much money as I used to. My wife and I watched our 401k become a 201k. I'm not bitching. You're going through the same thing. We're all going through that. So I got a lot of stuff on my mind. Will I forget my accountant who charges me a lot of money? He's very important to me. I mean, he's been with us now for what, about 18 years? He's actually one of the trustees and we trust him that much because I have a teenage daughter. So what does he do to keep reminding his customers how valuable he is? He's sending me updates. I didn't ask for this. I'm just getting these updates just to remind me how valuable. There's a gentleman I do business with who's in the mergers and acquisition business in my industry who sends me advisories now. My lawyer is staying in touch with me. Do it. Now, keep in mind with social media, that's one place you can do it, but I want to remind you that's kind of like preaching to the choir as well. Think about externalizing if you could. And by the way, are these priorities you care about beyond just getting the call, click, or customer? Let's go back to that report. Number one, I showed you for why you want to market is a no-brainer. It's acquiring business, but the rest of the reasons are keeping your business, establishing your expertise, and branding yourself. You see, it's all there. So let's go back to ROI. I promised you I'd get near the end of this journey and I'd start talking about how much should you invest in marketing. I hope I won a little bit of that battle because many of you now are saying, no more marketing, word of mouth, word of mouth. It's a necessity. You got to, I mean, as I said, that's not a commercial for TAPinto. That's just a commercial for the world of advertising and marketing where you're simply renting eyeballs. So how much should you invest? Well, there's a lot of theories there. Pundits say it's a percentage of gross sales. I agree to that. I actually believe the magic number based on the thousands and thousands of small businesses we interact with through our media partners is about an average of 10%. My number is 6. I invest 6% of gross sales in advertising every year. Sales goes up, it goes up. Sales goes down, it goes down a bit, but it stays at 6%. And I have a lot of stuff in that bucket. I got to tell you, in all honesty, I have my business cards in that bucket. I had a whole mess of money put aside in there. I got to reallocate now because all the conventions I was going to sponsor and be part of are gone. It's an amazing change. Our society's shifting. Remember, my business is a lot of conventions because that's where a lot of the people in the media industry get together and look at products and services. We can promote our magazine there. They don't exist. I was supposed to be in a lot of stages. I'm home. Delta has actually extended my extended my diamond status for another year, just in hopes I'll stay with them. They want to keep my loyalty. So 10%. I'm at 6. Real estate, there's about, I saw a lot of realtors on this. If you're an established realtor with top of mind awareness already, I call those the big dogs, been around for a while, you're still investing about 15% of gross sales in advertising because real estate is a very, very competitive industry. You may not know that if you're outside the industry, but there's a very finite number. I don't know why I'm getting all these mentions. I hope I'm still talking. I am. I'm looking at a monitor. So that's okay. We're still here. Thank you. I got this little sign on my screen, but I'm talking. Those listings are competitive. There's a lot of realtors in your community and very few people who sell houses every day. So you've got to market constantly. Now, the new guys, this is important. If you're an unestablished business, you might be spending a lot of money. A new agent out of the box has got to put almost a third of their gross sales into establishing their top of mind awareness, of marketing themselves to potential homeowners. It's amazing if you think about it. Automotive is generally high, well above the 10%, because it's very competitive. There's a lot of brands out there. And keep in mind that automotive dealers today have to reevaluate what they're selling. I already told you that used inventory is in vogue now. It's rocking. There's a lot of demand for used. Secondly, the new car sale to some dealers, and I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, is a loss leader. They actually make more money in the closing room and in the service bay than they do on the car. So they're actually they're promoting services like auto aftermarket. That, if you know what that term means, it means not the sale of the car, but fixing it later. Retail, your average retailer spends about 8%, home improvements a bit less, medical 7%, financial services 6%, education 9%. And if you ever really want to know your number, we got them sliced and diced by SIC code. Reach and frequency, strong message. So let me just review it for you real quick. Reach, I want you targeting from now on, no more spaghetti marketing. Figure out who that customer is and rent the right eyeballs, please. Because there's so many times that I'll meet a business owner who's trying something because it's exciting. Happened to me at a workshop in the fall when I was in Arkansas. A gentleman who owned a tuxedo store who was doing very well, tuxedos and things for weddings and stuff, said that his son was taking over his marketing and wanted him to pull out of his traditional media, which was working very well, and do more stuff on social media. And I said, is it working? He said, yeah. I said, let's reevaluate this. This might be your customer base. So target, and don't do the shiny toy syndrome. Don't consider media a one-hit wonder. Just can't do that anymore. Think in terms of just an ongoing budget. And then when you get into your messaging, if you do offers, deals, if I may use the term again, bribes, do me a favor, seed those into your marketing schedule based on when you do them. And then use the rest of the time of that schedule to do branding or offer 2 messages simultaneously. It's very common. You can still do the bribes and the deals while you still re-enhance your brand, your unique selling propositions. What makes you faster, cheaper, or better? Now, branding, is it important? Yeah, branding matters because it just helps you create critical top of mind awareness. It exploits your unique selling proposition. And more importantly, it educates and keeps your current customer with you and not your competitor. Now, I see Mike has been responding to a lot of questions out there briefly. I just thought I'd take a moment and talk about the product. I know, Mike, you're going to stay in the background for this, but with your kind permission, TAPinto, our sponsor today, offers reach and frequency. They have local, hyper-local websites. Some are associated with newspapers and some aren't. But they're definitely hyper-local content. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Our buddies in New York, in Westchester County, have great newspaper products with their TAPinto online product. Some of the guys in New Jersey, most of them, are simply what we call a digital-only platform. That's full of content. But one of the things we've noticed in our industry today is this massive amount of growth for local content. One thing this crisis has done to change consumer media habits was make people appreciate local news more. It's not really CNN as much or Fox News. A lot of this crisis is local. Where do I get a test? What's going on with the school system? When will school go back or what have you? So website traffic has gone up massively with this crisis. And Mike's, well, TAPinto in general has moved beyond anything I would have imagined. They went in just, what, 7 months, I should say, from 1.1 million monthly readers to over 3. And an amazing growth in social media as well. Just an unbelievable, and their email as well. One of the things that TAPinto has done, and some local business taken advantage of it, is, and this is ending later in this month, you may want to reach out to your local TAPinto website where you'll find more information, or just send an email to marketing@tapinto.net, is the ability for you now for free, believe it or not, to promote that you're open or the services you are. Here's a local business in a town called Westfield, New Jersey. I hope I said this right, D'Artagnan Westfield Home Delivery. And they put up quickly on their own, they type this in themselves. We call that self-publishing. And it's a press release. This is what we're offering. Now, remember I talked about Google, that thing called search. What's funny is, since TAPinto is a highly respected news website on Google, when I just typed in the name of the business, in Westfield, what happened was their website came up #1, but this news article came up #2, talking about their home delivery. So instantly, if people are searching, we're helping them to win that search battle. This is called SEO. Many of you have heard of this, search engine optimizations. By the way, on the news site, it's #1. So thank you, TAPinto, for sponsoring our workshop. Some of you have already, I've seen with my other eye here, how do you get a hold of the book? Well, I'll make you a deal. There's a form you can fill out now at blinder.biz. That's my last name, blinder.biz/NJ. That's it, blinder.biz/.NJ. And if you fill it out, first of all, we'll make sure you get a free copy of the ebook that I wrote. It's also available in print, but I don't keep any in the house. You have to go online to order those on Amazon or what have you. First of all, tell me what you thought of today. I'd love to know. This is only the 5th time I've done this broadcast, 5 scheduled next week. Any input? If I miss the mark, please let me know. And then if you like, and you have a need for some reach and frequency and some good messaging in a hyper-local way, fill out the form and tell us who your target market is. Where are your customers for reach? But tell me more than just the geography. Tell me young, old, rich, poor, near, far, man, woman. Am I right? Who are they? Then is there a specific message or bribe you're thinking of doing or are doing and you'd like to improve during this down economy? Let us know what kind of messaging we should work on for you. And then finally, what is your unique selling proposition? Please, what makes you faster, cheaper, or better? So we might even be able to do a little research on that as well. And then finally, if you have any supporting materials, those of you that are computer savvy enough to know what a file attachment is, let's assume you did do an ad or you have something you sketched out or a one sheet that you're handing customers or dropping off or using, feel free to send it up. And then what'll happen is the TAPinto team will look this over and get in touch with you with any recommendations. Once again, blinder.biz/NJ. That's blinder.biz/NJ. And awfully,
Mike, I have 2 quick questions for you. I don't know if you can do them before we end the broadcast today. One is from a financial advisor who says they're not allowed to use customer testimonials in their marketing. So how could they possibly use their customer testimonials in a way? And then a second question is from a gentleman who sells newspapers that are in hotels. And he's wondering how to talk to his customers regarding advertising in them, given what's going on with hotels and travel right now.
Ooh, wow. There are certain industries right now that are in massive trouble because it's just hard for a restaurant to survive, like my brother-in-law. So he's finding innovative ways to push their product or service. But in our industry, now this gentleman who does newspapers and hotels, I have to suggest that same thing that we did a webinar for our newspaper customers that are free papers that are distributed to venues that are closed. If there's a way to get those papers in the hands of people waiting in lines at supermarkets, that are near hotel. I mean, if you're talking about the travel industry now, no one really is traveling. You may want to plant the seed digitally to them that when the markets open up again and they're traveling again. You may want to make sure that your customers are not forgotten. But yeah, that's a tough one, because if people aren't traveling and all of your customers are wanting to talk to the traveler, yeah, you got a challenge. But you may want to keep that database flowing in hopes that you can continue the message to them later. And the other one was concerning what, Michael? I hope I can help on this one.
It's a financial advisor who has customer testimonials but is not able to use them because of regulations regarding financial advisors.
Yeah, okay. You use them then more privately. You don't put them in your media and marketing, but you may want to send them in some of your emails, or you may want to use them when you're doing a pitch to someone, or refer to them in the collaterals you're using. However, financial advisors definitely, in my opinion, need type of mind awareness right now. Everybody's running for cover, trying to figure out what the heck they're doing. So you may want to just be doing a lot of email marketing, which is one of the things TAPinto can also talk to you about sending out an email, which is just giving the lay of the land in some ways to make sure people know you're smart and you're there to protect them and look out for them. Everybody's running for cover right now. I got to tell you, in all honesty, I would say the number one fear factor today is what the heck's happening to my investments. So you're in the right, you need to be marketing right now. Anything else come up, Mike, or is that pretty much it?
No, those were the two questions that I couldn't answer on the chat, Mike. So thank you very much.
There's some I wish I could help you more with, but I'll give it some thought. And you can always send me an email. Anyway, blender.biz, fill out the form, blender.biz/NJ. Have a wonderful day. I wish you success as much as I can during these tough economic times. Definitely wish you good health and just hang in there. We're going to all see a backside soon. Have a great day.
To know that your love is a love I can be sure of. So tell me now, and I won't ask again. Will you still